welcome back to the Pulse with Willie and Al. How you doing today, Al?
Willie, living the dream, man. Living the dream. We did it, man. It's 14th episode, man. 14th episode.
Yeah,
Whew.
14th episode. You want to tell them the title today? I think we got a good one.
Yeah. Hey, the title of today's episode is "Hey, we need to have a serious talk." And we're going to talk a lot about my favorite team today, the New England Patriots. And I'm gonna warn the audience ahead of time. There's gonna be a lot of expletives used today about this team because this team makes me so goddamn angry. And there's the first one.
There could be some tears too, but listen, we're here to support that. We got heavy
Yeah.
shoulders, and we're ready to catch some of those tears for you. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right.
It's not good.
All right, well, let's dive into it real quick. First thing we're going to talk about is New England Patriots. I got one of my friends from high school that said, "Hey, you never talk about the Pats," and that's a pretty good reason for that. But here you go, bro. This is for you. So we're going to talk about the systematic destruction of the New England Patriots. It's been a rough season so far, to say the least. What do you think about that, Al?
Yeah, this has kind of been a slow decline. I know, like losing Tom Brady, like the best quarterback of all time, best player of all time, to be honest with you. Um, Losing him, like there's going to be there's they're going to drop a little bit, but what we've watched is just. I sometimes think I took Tom Brady for granted because watching elite quarterback play for so long and then just watching what I've been watching for 3+ seasons now, it's just 4 seasons now. It's not great. I don't love it. And this is what we deserve. This is what we deserve. We had all the luck for 20+ years, and this is frankly what we get. And that's fine. It's fine. I don't love it, but here we are.
Yeah, you guys did have a lot of things go your way for the better part of 20 years. In my opinion, unjustly so. But listen, it's better to be lucky than good, and you guys were lucky and good for a very long time. So
Yeah.
that's definitely very beneficial for a team to have. But now you get to experience a little bit of what the rest of the league feels like, kind of on an in and out basis, and during that time. So. Let's look at this real quick. The defense this year has kind of been one of the main points that they've talked about. Their defense has given up 131 points this year, 26 points per game, which you're not going to beat many teams in the NFL doing that. It's just going to be really tough, and especially in the last few weeks. You look, I mean, their defense has injuries almost all over it, but to lose Judon and then Gonzalez is just a big deal. And yeah, they bring J.C. Jackson back, which you shared a very nice story with me before we hopped on here about J.C. Jackson. Why don't you tell the folks about that?
Yeah, so I was reading the final straw for the Chargers and why they traded him was that he refused to play. So there's a game, and I believe it was a couple weeks ago. A corner got hurt, and he deliberately left his shoes untied and his arms crossed, and he refused to go in the game after he saw a teammate get hurt. Like that, like these are the guys we're trading for. Like, come on, like this. Oh,
It's
it's just so
inexcusable.
frustrating.
It's inexcusable. It really is to do that because it's not like he's playing for a scrub team. Even if he was, that's still
No,
inexcusable. But the Chargers are a competitive team. Right,
yeah,
and with him on the field, you'd think they'd be more competitive, but they honestly went the way they did for a reason. This seems like a very smart move on the Chargers end because not only was he not producing, but now you add that toxicity level to it, and it just you can't have that in your locker room. You've got to be able to expunge that from your team. You can't have any doubt going forward.
yeah. Bill won't put up with that at all. He won't. Like, if he even catches a whiff of that, he's gone. Like,
Yeah. Well, let's
so.
talk about the other side here too. Mac Jones, just this past week, two
Oh,
interceptions and a fumble, which is not good at all. But I did hear an interesting statistic today that Lamar Jackson actually has less touchdown passes thrown than Mac Jones this season. So that I don't know
well,
if
there's
that
that.
yeah, I don't know if that bodes well for you guys or not. But really, what I want to ask you about Mac is do you see it as being his fault?
That's really tough. I don't think that he, and I know I'm going to say a thing, but like, I don't think that it's all his fault. I think some of it is he just hasn't had great coaching. And what I mean by that is like last season, we had fucking Matt Patricia as our offensive coordinator. For anybody who doesn't know, he is a defensive coordinator that was coaching the offense, and it showed last year.
Yeah.
It, Mac's first year in the league, like he led the team to the playoffs, but like honestly, they had more talent around him even then. And I think this year, like I know they brought in Bill O'Brien, they brought him back, and it honestly is not really helping. He just keeps regressing, and I don't know what you can do at this point with him. Like
it is interesting, man. I know what we had chatted a while ago about this, but Dan Orlovsky came out this morning and he stated that if Mac Jones was in San Francisco, they'd be doing the same things that Brock Purdy's doing there, which I thought. Listen, I love Dan. He provides some of the most interesting breakdowns of games and really brings the game into your living room and makes the modern fan who may not understand the game at a level that NFL players do, he makes it understandable for them. And I love the fact that he does that. Most of the time, 99% of the time, he's providing good analysis. This, I thought, was outlandish to say. Just outlandish. What were your thoughts when you heard this?
I was so mad when I heard that. Like respectfully, like Mac Jones, I don't think could run an offense for a Pee Wee football team at this point.
Well, look,
I don't.
let's unpack some of that anger that I'm sensing in you right now. Let's find out about that. What is it? So obviously you're frustrated with him, but what is it that you're really frustrated about? Not only with this statement, but also this team.
Every bet, like it's what starts with me is like our line can't block. I mean, we rushed for 18 yards as a team. 18 yards. Like you can't do that. So Mac Jones isn't getting enough time to throw the ball, which again, like I don't care how good you are, like if you don't have enough time, you're gonna just make bad decision after bad decision. But when he is getting time, like the man is just loves throwing a good pick six every game. He's good for one a game, it seems like. And I just don't know what else to do. Like he looked so good in the Eagles game in the second half that I was like, okay, maybe there's a world. And then, we beat the Jets and I was like, okay, like maybe I'm sorry, we beat the Jets and then I was like, maybe there's something here. Maybe we can salvage this, but like we can't. Like, and respectfully, like for all the people that want Bailey Zappi, he's not the answer either.
Yeah, he may provide
He's
a
not.
little bit of life, but I don't think there's so many holes to fill in that bucket. I think you don't have enough tape to be able to patch all of it, right?
Yeah.
That's a difficult thing. The main issue for me that I see, and I say this with all the respect in the world for Bill Belichick. I haven't been a fan of him for years, as I was a Colts fan, but he's an excellent coach. He's been a good GM for part of that tenure. But recently, I've noticed there's been a big downtick in terms of his production as a GM, and I'm wondering if that's affecting now the coaching, because you need to build a good farm system. The idea is you get some of these guys onto either your practice squad and then onto your team when you draft them, right? So you're able to kind of groom them, get them into the players you want them to be, and a lot of it is predictions. You could say, oh, I know this guy is going to do well, but there's guys that we've known about doing well for years that haven't. So I realize there's a great degree of risk that is associated with that. But as I look at this, I'm looking at the first round picks that you guys have had. 8 out of the last 10 years. 2 years you didn't have a first round pick. I understand that piece. But 3 of those players are still active on your roster. 3 out of 8.
Yeah. Well, the running joke has always been Bill Belichick will always trade back in the first round usually, which is maddening in and itself. But we've never been a team really since like 2012. When was the last? I'm trying to remember the draft where we got Gronk and Aaron Hernandez felt like the last really good draft that we've had.
I mean, think about it. You brought some guys in that are good. right? Hightower, when you brought him
Yeah,
in, he was excellent as well. I even thought, like, they asked today on Twitter, like, what was the last great pick? I mean, great pick that New England had across the board. And I incorrectly answered Gerard Mayo, but it was definitely Gronk. It was definitely Gronk. He was the last game
yeah.
changing pick that you guys had. And it's kind of unfair for some of the other picks because no one was going to live up to that. But look at some of the other guys. You had Hightower that came in there, even Gerard Mayo. He was excellent as well. But
Yeah.
then after that, it just seemed like it really just, okay, we're good. We can coast off of this. We're getting these veterans to come in at league minimums, and we can coast off of that. But when you don't have a guy like Brady that's sacrificing that money that you can build around, it makes things very difficult. And they just did not replenish the farm.
Well, the thing that's always frustrated with me is the Patriots have always whiffed on two things. They've whiffed on drafting wide receivers, and
Big
they've
time.
whiffed on drafting cornerbacks. They're so bad at drafting both of those, and I've watched so many guys come in through that they've wasted first and second round picks on that just have been busts. Like either they can't stay healthy or they can't. They're just not productive, and it's just maddening. And like you keep doing that long enough, like the bill's gonna come due,
I mean,
and
this,
that's kind of what's happened now. The
you're
bills come
right.
due for all of this.
It's time to pay, man. And that's the
Yep.
thing. Like, there's a ton of work, a ton of effort that goes into drafting these players. It's not like they're just like, all right, I wake up this morning, I'm drafting this guy. No, they research these guys, they interview them, they use the combine for that, right? Personal workouts too. They want to fly these guys out, figure out if they're going to mesh with their team, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of research that goes into these players and how well they're going to be. They interview their college coaches. Some of them they interview their high school coaches, their teammates, right? They want to know a lot about these players. But as I'm looking at it now, dude, 2021, you guys have 3 picks still on the roster out of the 8 picks that you made that year. Now, granted, some of them, right, 4th, 5th, 6th round picks, 7th round picks, sometimes they don't make it, right? That definitely makes sense. So to have 3, okay, maybe it's an off year. But looking from 2013 to 2019, you guys have 3 guys left that you drafted. 3. That's insane,
Yeah.
man. There's 4 guys remaining of the 10 you drafted in 2020, and there's 3 guys remaining of the 10 you drafted in 2021. So the whole idea of, oh, Belichick trading back and pooling these picks, you're not hitting on them. You're not hitting on them.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating
What
to see.
what also bothers me a little bit too is Bill Belichick for a long time has brought in like dudes that he just knows and loves, and like that's kind of worked. It worked when you had guys like Charlie Weiss, Romeo Crennel, who were just top tier
Dante
coaches.
Scarnecchia, right? Like
Yeah,
these are the
yeah,
guys, right?
and like they have it to a lesser extent now. Like Gerard Mayo is like a really good coach for them.
Of course.
But like where I have a problem is like he just keeps bringing back like I feel like he's not thinking outside the box anymore. I think what made Belichick so unique the last 20 years was that he would do, I mean, he literally did anything to gain an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
We all know. But he would also like, he would just like think outside the box and he would look for any statistical edge he could. And I think that he just like, that's not something he does anymore. So he just hires his old friends as coaches. And it's like,
Yeah.
and respectfully, like his kids are on the staff and like, they're not good. They're not like
Well,
it bothers me because
the coaching
there's a
is an
world where
issue.
these guys, yeah, I agree. And there's a world where like these guys, if they had halfway decent coaching, I think this could be better too. But like I think it's just broken beyond repair. And I know that Bill Belichick has won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. And I will forever be thankful for that because as a kid, watching my team go 2-14 every year and 1-15 was awful. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm really thankful for that. But like, when you've been there that long, like I think sometimes like the voice isn't heard anymore, and maybe it's time to let like a guy like Gerard Mayo be the head coach and let Bill just kind of go somewhere else. Like,
Yeah. You know what it almost reminds me of? That scene in Step Brothers when Seth Rogen's interviewing both Will Ferrell and John C. Riley, and he's like,
yeah,
he lets
in the
out that
tuxedos.
part, and he's like, yeah, now the tuxedo T-shirt's kind of messed up. Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
that's what I feel like right now, right? Like, okay, now the being short in interviews and kind of being a jerk sometimes. He's not being a jerk, but just being short and lacking in personality when it comes to the press and stuff. Now it kind of seems messed up, right? Like it
Yeah.
just, I don't know. For me, there's no one on this roster that I'm even remotely scared of. Like as a defensive
No.
coordinator, when I'm playing against the Patriots, who who are you concerned about beating you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like who?
It's not Devontae Parker and it's not Juju Smith Schuster. Like it's none of those guys. Like,
Stevenson maybe, but like he's looked like pretty rough this year. They've looked bad, and I this is the other thing I want to say. I don't care for Bill O'Brien as a head coach. He's a good offensive coordinator. He knows how
yeah.
to be able to do that, but the players still need to go on the field and play. It's
Yeah.
I just think it's a combination of many things. You're missing a lot of good coaching all the way around on this team. And it's tough because Bill Belichick used to be able to do the heavy lifting in the past, and now I just don't think he's able to anymore.
I'm gonna say a thing I have never thought I would hear myself say this in my adult life, but like I say, just like throw the season away and tank. Like
Yeah, Caleb
Belichick won't
Williams
let that
maybe.
happen,
Yeah, of
but like
course.
not even Caleb Williams. That's the thing is like Caleb Williams is the top prize in this draft, and he's a really good quarterback. But this draft is going to be loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yep.
Loaded. You got Drake May, Bo Nix.
Yep.
Some say Shador Sanders. Like I
Even though
there's
Dion said, "Oh,
Michael
he's
Peter.
not coming out," but dude, if you get
Yeah.
a chance to get paid, you got to.
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr., like or Penix. Yeah, there's so mmany good quarterbacks. Like, if I'm the Patriots, like, and you own your first round pick, like, take, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there aren't many drafts where there's this many good quarterbacks coming out. Like, you got to get one of them. You do.
Yeah. Well, let's we can definitely chat a little bit more about it in future episodes and stuff, but let's move on real quick here because I wanted to hit on just a few things before we get to the Thursday night game. AFC North right now, I don't look now, but the Steelers are actually in the lead in that division, which is scary to believe because I know both of us thought that it wasn't going to be the Steelers possibly winning that division. I had the Steelers finishing pretty well this year, but I'm fairly certain that I did not expect this based on how the season started. And I look at it now, it looks like the AFC North is kind of up for grabs. The Bengals are in last in there, but they're starting to get things going. Steelers winning ugly, Ravens fading, the Browns were on a bye. So, like, what do you think is going to happen in this division in the next 5 weeks?
It's honestly a crapshoot at this point. Like, I thought Cleveland was going to do really well just because of the defense they had, and I think that's still the case. But
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson didn't play last week because he was hurt. And I'm curious to see if he plays against the 49ers this week, which is going to be a really tough game for them. In
Yeah.
Baltimore, like it's maddening with Lamar because Lamar makes like 5 or 6 plays a game where you're just like, I've never seen somebody do this before.
Yep.
But then at the same time, like he just throws dumb interceptions and takes a lot of sacks.
Yeah,
Like,
that fumble to end the game was just head scratching. And it's like, bro, you've
yeah,
been paid. You've been paid.
yeah,
Like I still am very frustrated by the signing of Odell Beckham. I don't think they should have even come close to giving him that money. They should have saved that money and actually tried to get DeAndre Hopkins. And I feel like this team would be in a much different spot, and they would not have the distraction that comes with OBJ.
yeah.
I
I mean,
just
Baltimore had 4 fumbles on Sunday.
yeah,
Like, you can't do that.
that's just rough, man.
Like,
Meanwhile, the Bengals looked good, and granted, okay, it's against the Cardinals. Cardinals have been playing teams tough, and I don't know if you saw it, but Burrow actually took off for like a nice scramble that looked Joe Burrow esque. Like
yeah,
he looked good finally, and I know it took some time. He was playing hurt. I'm not picking on him for that. We've wanted to see that. Like we've wanted to see him play well, so it was very refreshing to see him look good out there. And Chase had just a monster game. It's
yeah,
he is always open, dude. He is like 7-Eleven. Let him keep talking like that, cause he is. It's
yeah.
that dude can
Man,
play.
dude couldn't be stopped. It was just wild.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Well, let's see. So moving on here, games in London, and listen, this has been a hot topic. I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet. I was maybe hoping we'd get into it at the beginning of the season, but here we are, 5 weeks in, and now we're going to cover it. But thoughts on the London games that you have? Like, I noticed like the NFL has been scheduling so that a team will kind of spend like 2 weeks over there. They'll play two games and then they come back. But do you think it provides a competitive advantage for the team that's flying over? And I know you had mentioned just what happened with Buffalo, right? What they did.
Yeah,
When did they go
Buffalo,
over?
they flew over Friday, which is insane.
Yeah,
That's
that's
insane. When I went, for context, when I flew to go see you in Turkey in June, I came back and it took me like a week, maybe possibly like 2 weeks to get back on a normal sleep schedule.
yeah,
And when I like went to fly to go see you, like on the way there, it took a solid 2 days, 2 or 3 days before I even felt remotely right.
yeah.
Like, and then to play a football game on top of that, ooh,
Yeah, that's a tough thing for them. I just I think about it and stuff. I love the idea of games in London and Germany and stuff like that. I think it's great that they're bringing football here. I just wonder like the impact that it has on the players because I have to believe they're going to enter in another bye week. We're going to have a 19-week season at that point, or possibly 20. I definitely see that happening. It just the NFL loves money, man. It's
they do.
very possible that that's going to end up happening. And think about it. They're going to pitch it as, oh, well, if we play 20 games, don't worry about your health and stuff. The contracts are going to be bigger, which they're not going to be proportionately bigger to what the
No,
owners make on the games, right? It just, I don't know. For me,
no.
it just, I I understand it, but I feel like you're stretching them too far. Now, if you want to play games in Canada, you want to play games in Mexico, totally get that within the same hemisphere, right? But like when you start coming to, I say hemisphere, but within the same continent, right? With North America there and going into Central America, you start going to Europe. You're talking about jet lag, all of those issues that you just mentioned when you came here, and I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if it's worth it to risk their health that way. I see, because I definitely see it as a health risk.
Yeah, yeah. Uh it's tough because I remember when they went to a 17 game season, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Like, it's not needed. Like you're just asking for more people to get hurt.
Yep.
And I love that they're bringing this game all over the world. I do, but at what cost? Like we know what the cost is. The cost is coming to the players. Like you saw it on Sunday. Like Matt Milano broke his leg on a soccer stadium on a soccer field.
Yeah.
Essentially, like a soccer field and a football field, vastly different. And it's
Yeah.
I, like I said, I applaud that they are. I applaud that they're trying to bring this game everywhere worldwide, and I want that. I love that, but it's I don't know, man. I just like I'm just not having it. Like just you know what I mean? Like nobody's benefiting from this. Like
No.
I wonder if like you look at the ratings, like how well these games are doing. Like I know for me, these games are on at 9:30 in the morning. A lot of times, like I'm up at that time, but like I'm like going to get breakfast, or like I'm going to get brunch with friends, or I have stuff to do in the morning, and like so I don't always get a chance to watch those games, and
You're right.
I'm
Yeah.
just I'm just curious what the ratings are on these.
Yeah.
You'll never find out, but
I am too. Well, listen, I want to mention real quick because we wanted to discuss the San Francisco game and kind of the way they had played and stuff. So go ahead, let it rip, man. Let me know what you think about this
man,
team.
man, this team is at the beginning of the year when we did our preview episode, my big concern with the 49ers was if Brock Purdy's elbow, what the deal is with that. And I was wrong. I was wrong, and I can admit that. This team is just they're like the Eagles last year where they're just beating the shit out of everyone. That's what they're doing. Like, and they're doing it in ways like they're such a good team that when you're trying to game plan against them, you're going to take away their best player, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't. McCaffrey ran for 50 yards. I think maybe had like 20 or 30 yards receiving, and it didn't matter. Brock Purdy still threw for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. Like,
They just beat Dallas in every aspect of the game, right? They're just a better team. They showed their dominance. They showed, okay, you take this away from us, we'll use our other toy. And they went to Kittle, right? So he was excellent for them. I just think, Brock Purdy showing that he's got a good understanding of how to play in this offense. He's good at using his weapons, and that defense is just scary good, man. Scary good. Fred Warner, I don't know how that guy can cover 53 and a third and 100 yards on the football. I don't know how he does it. I really don't, man. He is so impressive to watch, and he shouldn't be the guy that you're focusing on that defense. It should be Bosa. But when you watch the way Fred Warner plays, it's unbelievable. He is awesome to watch.
And the 49ers signed Randy Gregory as well. They don't even need that guy, and they're going to just sign him because they want more depth. Yeah.
And what if he pans out? That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that terrifies me.
They're signing, again, like I mentioned, it was a Super Bowl signing. Not to guarantee them a Super Bowl, but when they get into those tough playoff games against Philly, allowing a guy like Gregory to rush on third down makes things very difficult. And Philly's got a good offensive line. You need to send pressure against them and try to pressure Jalen Hurts. So definitely a great team. I can't wait. I definitely want to break down more of what they do in the coming weeks because I think they're fantastic to watch. They're a ton of fun. And I think Shanahan, I know his father obviously was an NFL coach, but his brilliance and creativity, Dallas got out-coached too.
Yeah.
They got out-coached. And Mike McCarthy's been doing enough this year, but not against San Francisco. Enough isn't going to beat them, and that showed on Sunday.
I agree. I think when it's all said and done with McCarthy too, like I think this is the year Jerry Jones finally lets him go.
Mm-hmm.
I do, because I don't see a roadmap for this team. I know, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, in future episodes. But the roadmap's not good for them.
Listen, maybe we'll bring Gerard in for that, and we can hear his opinion on what he's got to say about it. Oh,
we're gonna get real mad. Real mad.
Yeah. Well, getting into one team that's actually playing a lot better than people thought, and one that's playing exactly about what we thought they were going to be. The Thursday night game, Denver at Kansas City. And I'm looking at this here. Kansas City's getting 10.5, and the over-under's 49. So just let's start off talking about Denver. I just look at this, and this is just, we've watched the unraveling of the Broncos continue this year. It's been brutal, man. The Jets ran for 234 yards against them. Almost 7.5 yards per carry. They just couldn't stop the run, man. They couldn't stop the run at all.
What really bothers me is that Sean Payton talked so much shit this offseason about Nathaniel Hackett. And sure, Hackett's not a great coach. Hard Knocks actually kind of showed me that the guy's kind of an idiot, but neither here nor there. But that's all Denver did this offseason was talk about how bad of a coach he is. And respectfully, if Sean Payton can't get this team to do well, who can?
Yeah.
It also, I don't know if you saw this after the game, but Robert Saleh just was cold to Sean Payton. They went up for the handshake after, and all he said to him was be blessed. And I was like, damn. That's all he said to him.
He took the high road.
He did it with a smile too.
Yeah.
Which that's cold, man. That's cold, and I love it.
Well, for me, this is the frustrating piece about that game is that the whole idea, and it's no secret for any team playing against the Jets, you need to force Wilson into making bad decisions. And I kind of talked about this on my stream on Sunday in that, the teams previously that he was playing against were playing man coverage. Kansas City was playing man coverage against him, which you don't have to really make reads. You just follow the guy that's open and you're good to go. Denver largely plays zone, and I thought that was going to be very difficult for him to maneuver against, but he's been doing a pretty good job. I honestly expected Pat Surtain. He's arguably the best corner in the league. I expected him to get a pick this game. He did, and he even gave Denver a chance at winning the game. But then Russell Wilson goes and has that just brutal fumble that was, listen, Russell Wilson's a competitor. He doesn't try to create turnovers. He doesn't try to play poorly. That was awful to watch. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, we're really getting to a point with him where like Seattle trading him was the smartest thing they've ever done. Like for the amount of picks they got back for him and what those picks have turned into, like kudos kudos to Seattle for realizing it a year. They traded him a year early than
They
a
got
year
two
too late.
tackles. They got their two
Yeah,
rookie tackles last year for them. But
yeah.
I'm gonna blow your mind in a second because this I came across this today as I was comparing these two teams. So obviously Russell Wilson's fault for the fumble, right? Yeah, that was awful. It was terrible. But listen, the other games were not his fault. And I compared the stats that he has to Mahomes. His are better. His stats are better than Mahomes, which is crazy. Because
Yeah.
his are better not only by one interception, but by two interceptions. So it's amazing that how the perception is different. And we're talking about, oh, Russell Wilson, he sucks, he's terrible, all of this stuff. We don't say that about Mahomes, but Mahomes also has, two thick rings on his hand too. I'm pretty sure he
Sure
plays.
does.
I'm pretty sure he plays with them too.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it is wild. I like looked it up because I was like, no, it can't be. And
yep.
I'm looking at it and like 67% completion percentage, like 11 touchdowns and 2 picks. Like if you looked at those stats
Yeah.
and you didn't tell me who that player was, I would have thought that that's a team that is like 4-1, 5-0 right now.
Maybe
But
Justin
no,
Herbert. If it was a worse team, you'd be like, oh, that's got to be
yeah,
Justin Herbert or someone like
yeah.
that.
At worst, that's Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But no, it's Russell Wilson, and he plays for the 1-4 Denver Broncos.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what do you think? Do you expect this team to be able to get it together?
I don't see how. That's
Yeah.
that's the thing with them. I don't see how, and their schedule just gets harder. They play Kansas City twice in the next 3 weeks, which good luck.
Let's
Green
get
Bay's
drugged
kind of
twice.
winnable. Yeah, Green Bay's kind of winnable at this point, I think, based on what I watched last night in that Monday night game.
hmm
And then it's Buffalo, Minnesota, Cleveland, Houston, the Chargers, Detroit. Like this schedule is not an easy schedule for them.
Yeah, it's. I honestly don't think it's going to get better, and you're going to see it. I think they tried to feed Jerry Judy a little bit this week, but I expect them moving on from either him or Sutton, them trading them away. And I don't know, man. I don't really have much faith in this team to be able to really push the ball. One inspiring thing was they ran the ball well against the Jets. It was
Yeah.
impressive, but the turnovers kill you. What did they have? 4 fumbles in the game? You can't.
Yeah, it's
You're not going to beat
yeah,
anyone
it's
in this league doing that. It just you put the ball
no.
on the ground. Other teams that, especially smart teams, they're going to capitalize on that. So
And it's wild too because every time that I see Denver play, it just seems like Russ is just running for his life in 0.3 seconds every time.
yeah.
Like,
Well, let's talk about a team that people said were struggling, which is kind of funny because struggling at 4-1. I mean, Kansas City's far ahead in the lead in that division, and now they have a big lead over the Chargers. I said last week I'm pretty sure that the Chiefs were the worst 3-1 team in the league, and now I was a little concerned about saying that because they go out and win, but now I look at it and Kelsey's just getting banged up.
yeah.
I see it. So, yeah, it is getting dark here. I'll have to have them turn the light on here. I don't want to be too dark, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's wild with Kansas City because like their record, like they're gonna win this division.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
respectfully, this division's not great. They're 4-1, but like we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. Them and Philly both like they're both teams with really good records that just aren't playing well. Like
Mhm.
it's wild, but they have enough talent, so it doesn't really matter with them. But with Kansas City, like this is a pretty winnable. Oh, let there be light.
Yeah, dude.
Woo!
Do I look like Jesus right now?
You
Yeah.
look like Jesus, our Jesus. Who's to say?
Listen,
Who's to say?
my wife is part of the podcast. She's trying to contribute. So, oh,
Hervé, thank you. We appreciate it.
yes, we do. Let there be light. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right, go ahead and continue. Sorry about that.
No, you're okay. Yeah, it's just that this team has enough talent. Like they're gonna win. They're gonna win enough games just because Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback. But you know, this game could get interesting if, especially if Kelsey doesn't play. Had the foot injury on Sunday. He wasn't a participant on Monday's practice, so he's questionable as of now. But if they don't have Kelsey, we saw what that movie looked like already, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, it's
So
and that's my biggest concern is just looking at this team. I don't know if Kelsey's missing, who steps up. My guess, if I had to make an educated guess, I'd say Rashee Rice. And I like what I've seen from him. He's had a few passes that haven't really gone his way, but I think he's set to emerge as like the number one receiver on this team. It's not going to be Tony. It's not going to be Watson. Watson can't seem to stay healthy. It's definitely not going to be Sky Moore. He is just, man, I hate to say this because I'm not an NFL player, but he's hot garbage, man. He's hot garbage. Cut
yeah,
that guy, please. Like, just get rid of him. Go and pick up someone else. Like, I'd rather see them take another rookie in and groom that guy to like be good and play well under Mahomes. Sky Moore is just not that dude. I just I don't know. And he was a high pick. I want to say he was like a second round pick that they had. It just, ugh, it's brutal. But I'm hoping in this game. My idea is that I think Pacheco is going to be the guy. They got to lean on him, and
he has to be.
yeah, he has to be. They're going to run the ball efficiently because Denver can't stop. You know, they can't stop anybody. Can't stop
No,
anybody.
they can't.
It's brutal for them. So I'm hoping.
What do you have for a score for this game?
Oh, okay. So I did Kansas City 38, Denver 24. What did you have for this?
I think this is going to be a much lower scoring game because even if Kelsey comes back, it seems like it's a foot ankle thing. They're not really sure. I don't know how much you're going to get from him on one leg, even if he comes back. So I think this game's going to be a little closer. I think it's going to be Chiefs 24, Denver 10.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't see Denver putting up points.
Yeah.
Like,
I think Wilson is going to be, I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit, but I just don't think they're going to be stellar, right? Like, and I just don't think the defense, they can't stop anybody. I could see Kansas City getting 7 possessions, scoring on all 7. I mean,
quick question for you:
yeah,
do you think they bench Russell Wilson at some point? And if
I
so, when?
I don't I don't know, man. Like this is the thing. Is Stidham? I think Sean Payton's smart enough to know Stidham's not better. He's
No,
not.
but they signed him to a hefty 2-year, $10 million contract for a backup. That's a lot for a backup.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have a good backup, but I don't know. I honestly, I don't see them benching him at all. I don't see it
Okay.
happening. Maybe after the season they look to move on from him or trade him somewhere because there's another team that will take him.
Somebody's
Definitely.
dumb enough to trade for Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Denver did it, so
Yeah.
somebody else is dumb enough.
Tell me the Jets wouldn't trade for him.
Oh God.
You don't think
Oh
that would
man.
happen? You don't think he would? You don't think the Jets would bring him in if Denver said, "Hey, we're shopping this guy"? Nathaniel
I
Hackett
mean,
played with him last year. You don't think they'd bring him in? I mean,
there's no chance. Even the
Ooh.
Jets aren't dumb enough to do that. And they have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I think it would have to be a deal that really supports the Jets and where they don't have to pay a lot of money. But be on the lookout, man. There's teams, especially with and what comes to mind is Jefferson, right? Jefferson's put on the IR now. Minnesota could start shopping, right? Cousins could be on the market soon. So I know he's got the no trade clause, but be on the lookout for that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see a path where Denver's going to bench Wilson. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, let's move on to some exciting stuff for you. We've got some divisional matchups in baseball. So this
Sure
has
do.
been very interesting. So we start with the first week, right? We had all our predictions and stuff. 4 sweeps in the wild card series. You're dead and gone now, right? Like that's history.
I was wrong on so many of those. I was
Yeah.
wrong on Toronto. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong on Texas. Like I was wrong on everything.
Yeah.
So I know nothing when it comes to baseball. That's the lesson we've learned, kids.
That's clearly not it.
listen
But
to me.
let's dive into this divisional series real quick. You want to give them a quick disclaimer about this?
Yeah, so we're filming this on Tuesday. This is going to come out Wednesday morning. So, there's Texas playing tonight. So we
Mhm.
don't know how that series is going to end. They're up 2-0 right now. But like I said, we don't know how this is going to end with that. You could listen to this tomorrow and Texas could have swept Baltimore, which
Yeah,
seems pretty likely at this point.
it does seem pretty likely. They're one game away from going to the ALCS, which is they're playing at home. Things bode
Yep.
well for them, and I look at the games that they've had, right? Like game one, they won 3-2. Game two, they ended up scoring 11 runs, won 11-8. I see this now. Like the two pitchers they've got, who is it, Kramer and Evaldi?
Evaldi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do
And
you
Evaldi's
see?
been lights out for him this year.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's unpack this a little bit. How has this happened to Baltimore?
I honestly, I don't really fault them for this. We're gonna do a quick history lesson here, but history usually shows in baseball that like you need to have some postseason experience before you win it all. Um, I know what the Diamondbacks are doing right now is kind of not the norm to that, but typically, like you think about like the Astros and the run they've been on when they won in 2017. Um, they had that experience in 2015.
Mhm.
They made it to the ALDS, they got eliminated, but they had that playoff experience. So when 2017 rolled around, they had something to fall back on.
They were ready.
Yeah. And Baltimore hasn't been to the playoffs since what, 2016, 2017? Like none of those guys that were on that team are on this team now.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I honestly, this isn't shocking to me. Like they were a great regular season team. They killed everyone,
Hmm.
won over 100 games, which should be celebrated because that's hard to do in Major League Baseball. It's just not their time this year.
Hmm.
And the thing with Texas though, which I didn't think through, is they have playoff experience guys.
Hmm.
Like you were talking about, like
Seager, yeah.
yeah, Corey Seager, man, like that dude has been in some big playoff games.
And not
Nathan
only been in
Nathan
them,
Evaldi,
he's produced in those too. Like he's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Nathan Evaldi, 2018 World Series Game 3,
Hmm.
that 18 inning game, like he has been in some pressure cooker situations. Like there's enough guys on this team, and they have Bruce Bochy managing him, who's won 3 World Series. Like,
Yeah. Like he definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to that. What do you
but
think is going to end up happening in this game? Who do you think is going to end up winning it?
I think Texas is gonna end this. I think Texas is gonna get the sweep here. I do. It's no offense to Baltimore. They're a great team. It's just not their time yet. I think they're going to learn from this, and I think next year they'll bounce back and they'll be better.
Yeah.
Um, but also, quick fun story that I read the other day about Texas. So they were kind of in a second half slide for a while, and they credit their resurgence to listening to Creed in the clubhouse and at the ballpark.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's stories like that of why I love baseball.
Oh
People get weird
man.
and
Oh,
yeah,
that is too funny.
yeah. So now they're like blasting it. They're playing Creed in the clubhouse, and like
There you go.
it's
Hey,
man, superstition is a real thing,
yeah,
man.
it's a real thing in baseball for sure. Like it's noticeable. So, all right. Well, let's talk about the teams that could end up facing if we think it's going to be the Rangers. I'm picking the Rangers as well. I just think they're on too good of a streak right now to let it go at home. And having their manager, managers matter in baseball. They really
Sure
do.
do.
So let's talk about the teams that could be facing them. We've got the Twins and the Astros. This series, it was tied up 1-1. So Houston wins game one, 6-4. Minnesota comes back. They win game two, 6-2. I'm looking at this. They got Javier and Gray going. What are your thoughts on this?
This is tough because the Twins picked up a guy like Carlos Correa because he's been in so many big moments in the World Series. Like he was the big catalyst for why Houston got to where they were.
Mhm.
Um, and so a guy like him is really that kind of leadership is valuable in a clubhouse. That being said, like I didn't pick Minnesota to win the wild card round, and they shocked me. They did, and they have a lot of guys that are just like solid, but they aren't flashy. Like they're just a lot of solid guys that play some decent fundamental baseball. Rocco Baldelli, good manager. But when it's all said and done, Houston just has too much firepower.
Yeah.
They really do. Minnesota's a nice story, but I don't see this continuing with them. I just don't.
I think the same thing too. I just think Houston's too good of a team. They have guys with experience as well, and when it comes to the postseason, that's when it seems like their stars on their team play their best baseball. It's tough to beat teams like that. So.
And Pablo Lopez has really been the story for the Twins. Like his pitching has single-handedly carried them so far. So, there's a world where he might pitch Game 5. I think if it's all said and done, but I don't think they're going to get there. I think Houston's just too talented. Dusty Baker has managed in so many big games. I think he's going to steer the ship in the right direction. I'm not really worried with Houston.
Yeah, Dusty Baker, I'm really a big fan of his, man. Except unless they're playing against the Braves. But he's a great manager, man. And I want to see him get a win. I just don't want it to be this year. So
right.
But
right.
Yeah, let's talk about the game that I definitely want to talk to you about. Braves and Phillies, right? This series, man. So now it looked like it was going to be 2-0 with the Phillies, right? They win Game 1. They shut the Braves out, which is just sad because Strider pitched a pretty good game, and I felt like it was just wasted. They didn't give him any run support. He's going out there, he's playing really well, but it just, I don't know. Their offense has just slumped. Where Philly comes off of that big emotional win in the wild card round. They're playing at home. You see exactly how their home crowd is. It's raucous there. They are crazy there in Philly. But Philly in every sport has crazy fans, but especially in baseball, they're nuts. And so they're riding high into that. They come into Atlanta, steal the first game, and then the second game looks like they're going to steal it as well. The Braves, I think they went, 16 innings without scoring a run? And then I don't know. I look at this the Braves finally get it going and they win last night. Long story short, right? But in dramatic fashion, right? They're down 4-0. They come back at the seventh, bottom of the seventh, score 2, bottom of the 8th, they score 2, and or was it 3 in the bottom of the 8th?
Yeah, it's 3.
Yeah, 3 in the bottom of the 8th.
And Philly's bullpen is usually pretty reliable, so the fact that the Philly's bullpen blew that game is, that's kind of a fluke. That's not something that happens with this team. They have a solid bullpen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know I give a lot of, I talk a lot of shit about Craig Kimbrell. I do, because watching that guy play for the Sox was just maddening.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have a really good bullpen, and what happened last night I don't think is the norm for them. I really don't. Atlanta stole a game. They had to steal that game, and they stole it. And that's, what? I respect the heck out of that.
Yeah.
I do.
Because you have to be able to steal games here. And I mean, the way it ended, I'm wondering if that changes. Because let's be honest, playoffs, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, it's all about momentum and what team has that. And I realized, if Philly won that game, it was going to be very difficult for Atlanta to climb back in the series, being down 2-0 and going to Philadelphia, having to play 2 games. It's like climbing Everest without a backpack. Now, not only did they win the game, but they had a crazy double play to end it, something that had never been done in postseason history. Michael Harris makes that incredible play, and then, on the wall, and then they end up getting Bryce Harper out on the tag out at first. And I look at that, and it shifts the whole momentum of the series, in my mind. Are you feeling the same thing, or what are you seeing in this?
I don't. I don't think this is as big of a momentum shift as people seem to think. Just because Atlanta's offense has just gone cold, and that's kind of, we're going to do another history lesson here. When you hit that many home runs, this team lives and dies by the home run.
You're right.
And that's great when it's working, but when it's not, man, there's not much you can do with that. And right now, they can't do anything on offense. Maybe this turns it around, but Philly still just like is just a better team, and they got Aaron Nola going next. Like, and with Atlanta, like I don't know who they're gonna pitch. My assumption is they're gonna throw out. I think Brett Elder. I think is
Yeah,
who they're gonna throw out. But like,
Elder needs to be
I,
out there. I'm pretty sure. Like,
I'm not sure who they use. Like in Philly's lineup right now is just they're just smashing the shit out of the ball. Like Trey Turner's at 375 in this series. In like
yeah, that's the thing. And like, so a lot of people have talked about the Braves and how many home runs they've hit and everything. I think they've hit 107 since the trade deadline. Well, Philly's hit the same amount. So it's
yeah,
you know that's it's not like Philly's a bad team. They're a great team and they're just as good as the Braves, if not better. And I think the way they've been playing makes me very nervous. You know, they're stealing bases, they're trying to be a little more aggressive, they're playing risky, yet loose at the same time. And now going back to Philly for 2 games, I really hope it makes it back to Atlanta, but I don't know if it's going to, man.
I think Philly's gonna win game three. I do because I don't I think that Philly crowd is just gonna be absolutely nuts. Like and if Philly can somehow just score an early run or two, like that's
It could be very dangerous for Atlanta if that
yep,
happens. If Atlanta
yep,
goes in and wins, though, look out. And remember,
yep,
we had discussed it before when we did our postseason special. Atlanta's record, home and away, was the same. And I realize playoffs are different. None of that means anything now because when you've got to go and play in the playoffs, it's a different atmosphere than playing, in the middle of July when there's, 75% attendance at the park. Um,
yeah.
so we're going to see what this Braves team is made of going into Philly. It's going to be very interesting. Who do you have? You said you at Philly winning Game 3. Do you have them winning the whole series?
No, I still am gonna stand by my Atlanta pick. It just I don't feel great about it. I don't. What does bode well for them though is they're gonna get Spencer Strider again for one more start. And the hope is that he pitches lights out again like he did, and Atlanta just gives him some run support this time.
Well, this is the thing. If the Braves manage to win Game 3, say Elder pitches and they win Game 3, I don't think
Yeah,
I don't know if you run Strider out there in Game 4.
I think you have to. I think you have.
Really?
I think you
Okay.
have to. I think you have to try to close that series. You can't let this go to a game 5 with
Okay.
this Phillies team. You cannot
Yeah.
let that happen.
It could get dangerous if that happens. Yeah, you're right.
And I know they're playing in Atlanta, and that's great. But like Philly's just this weird team that like when it matters most, they just show up, man. They just show up in big games.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I'm you, you have to end this in 4. You have to. You cannot let this go back to Atlanta.
Well, let's talk about a team that in the biggest moment is not getting it done right now. We'll talk about the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. Arizona's leading this series 2-0. Are the Dodgers about to receive an early exit in this playoffs?
You know, I don't know at this point. I don't like this. These plans have been so weird already this year. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I my thought is like yes, but like I'm also not shocked by that because this is what the Dodgers do every year.
Mhm.
They win they win 100 games every season, and then they flame out in the playoffs. And a lot of times, like they've made it to the World Series a few times, which is great. They've won
Yeah.
a World Series, but like more times than not, they just kind of choke in the first round of the playoffs. It's kind of what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I was very surprised with them lighting Kershaw the way they did. Not to say that it can't happen. It could happen against anybody, but the way and the fashion that they did it in the first inning, it was just. I think he gave up 6 runs before they got one out.
Yeah, it was like
Uh,
5 or 6.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
it was brutal, man.
just
Like,
nuts.
and now with winning Game 2, like I feel like Arizona's kind of taken their breath away. Like, and I'm gonna butcher this name, but it's Lynn and is it Fott? That's
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, you got it.
All right.
Nice. You got it.
Yeah. I butchered enough names last week. I figure I was, down to get one right this week. So, but what do you think? Do you think Arizona ends up closing this out? Because they're
I
playing
think
in
so.
Arizona now.
I think so. And the thing is, too, like even if they don't, they're still going to get Zach Allen for one more start.
Hmm.
and he's their ace. And you know what I mean? Like, I just think they got 3 cracks at this. I like Arizona's chances. I do. I mean, Corbin Carroll right now he hits leadoff for Arizona. He's hitting 500 right now in the playoffs. Like, he just can't get. Like, they're at the point where they're just walking him all the time
Hmm.
because there's nothing else they can do with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy Pham's really hitting well for him right now. Like, it's just, and the Dodgers, like, if you look at it, they're just going cold. Like, it's JD Martinez hitting for them, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm looking at it right now through 2 games. Mookie Betts 0 hits. Freddie Freeman hitting 167. Max Muncy hitting 143. Jason Hayward 0 hits in the series. Like,
Yeah.
for a team that hits so well in the regular season, they're just going cold at the worst time.
Yeah. It's kind of brutal to see that and stuff. And we could be looking at, if Arizona wins that, whoever wins the Braves and Phillies series, I'm not going to say Arizona's going to be a pushover, but I don't think Arizona's a favorite. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah, Arizona. Like, if Arizona gets the NLCS, like, whoever gets them is like they're getting the Dodgers did them a favor by, like, bowing out early in the playoffs, because, like, you would much rather face this team. But,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
but again, 7-game series, and this team's hot right now. I don't know, man. I don't
yeah.
know. I thought I knew everything there was to know about baseball until I started watching these playoffs, and I know nothing.
Well, listen, we
I know
should get a little more clarity tonight and within the next few days.
Yeah.
On some of these series, they could be over the next time we talk. Listen, the Braves could be going home at that point. So,
Yeah.
but
And once the teams are set too, we will do, like, a league championship series preview.
yeah,
Either it's a full episode, or we're going to throw it in as part of another episode that we do. So
yeah,
just stay tuned for that as well.
yeah, we definitely want to do that because we want to be able to break down, the teams at that point, what we expect for those, and we're going to toss in some more predictions with that as well.
Yeah.
Just because they need it, the fans need it, they
Yeah.
absolutely
I
need
give
it.
the people what they want, man.
Yeah,
Gotta give them what they want.
give them what they want. So,
Yeah.
all right. So moving on here, one last segment before we wrap up here. Just go through some fantasy stuff. I was looking at some of the fantasy football performances of the week. I don't know how you can't pick DJ Moore. I mean, he just absolutely lit it up on Thursday night for the Bears. It's scary because I didn't think we were going to ever have a Bear for fantasy performance of the week, but DJ Moore definitely takes the cake with that. Jamar Chase, kind of a distant second on that. He had himself a game, but DJ Moore just played very, very well. And looking in it, like in terms of my leagues and stuff, I was able to win in both leagues this week. I'm the only undefeated team in my ESPN league, which feels great.
Ooh.
And all of the teams that have one loss, I'm beating one of them, but the rest of them are about to lose. So it's or have lost rather after the Monday night game. So I put a little bit of more distance on them. But I've also got 2 wins in a row in my Yahoo league. I was the worst team in the league, and I beat the best team in the league last week, and this week I beat another team. So I'm moving right along. I'm moving up the ladder now.
To quote LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, definitely don't call it a comeback. So
No, you've been here for years.
Yeah,
been here for years.
And I'm gonna change it to Mama said knock you out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing to these teams now. So,
Yeah.
but in the guillotine league, this is kind of interesting. So one of
This broke my heart.
yeah, this broke my heart too. So one of my favorite people is getting chopped today in Muggsy, and he's a friend of our late friend. He's Jason's father. But Muggsy's never missed one of my wrestling matches in high school. And he was always a guy that was a staple in Mount Greylock wrestling in their program. He would always show up, show support and stuff. So it breaks my heart that he's getting chopped this week. But he's a great fantasy football manager, and it kills me to see him getting cut so early because I know how difficult it is to draft around like near him at the beginning of the season. And I always enjoyed my matchups against this guy because I always knew he had a good team. And I know in Guillotine you're not matching up against other teams, but each week you match up against everybody. So it's one thing that I was super worried about with him. But sorry to see you go, Muggsy.
Muggsy's a guy in fantasy drafts who takes the guy 1 pick before you do every single time. And you're like,
dude, he did that for like the last. Did I tell you that?
No, I watched him do it this year in our Guillotine
Oh
league.
man,
he threw entire strategy. In like
Dude, that's my whole fantasy football career, man. I literally for like 3 years in a row, he was drafting either before me or right after me. So he'd in a snake draft, he'd always get one pick, right? And then the other way, I'd have one before him. Dude, this guy always would pick someone that I was gonna pick right before me. So I always had a ton of respect for him and disliked it too at the same time. But yeah, really crushed to see him go. And I made sure I was very appropriate with what I said. He's the only guy I didn't tell to F off in the Guillotine League. Everyone else, they're going to get it. So, anything else you got to say, Al, today?
No, man, it's another great episode in the books. Like I said, we thank you all for listening. Hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you, I think,
we'll be back on Friday.
Yeah, we'll drop another episode on Friday.
Yeah. We'll be back on Friday. Again, if you guys have questions, anything like that, go ahead and post in the comments. You can send us an email at thepulsewa@gmail.com.
Or just tell us we suck. We'll take that too.
Yeah. But give us a reason. Give us a reason for it. We want to know.
Yeah.
So, and again, if you need to, I'm bringing you guys fantasy football content and NFL content on Twitter. I stream on Twitch on Sundays at Willie Creeman. But you can find me on Twitter at Willie Creeman FF. So, other than that, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Al. Love you, bro. Another great episode, and we will be back with episode number 15 on Friday.
Woo!
We're getting into it.
We sure are, man. We sure are. Willie, thanks for another great episode, man. I love you, buddy.
Love you too, bro. Take care.
Peace.